bitch, y'all know me. Mississippi hoe, I'm a real OG. If you're sick of being sick and you're tired of being broke, don't get Joe, cause I'll bring your ass to Saints Row. Saints Row, bitch, Saints Row, bitch. If you want it, do the land on the floor, bitch. I lie, I steal, cause nobody cares how I feel. But Saints Row, Saints Row, Saints Row, Saints Row. You left me in the middle of hell with no hope. You put me in a trap with straps and no dough. No food, no water, kids drowning in the mist. I ask God why my people gotta live like this. I lie, I steal, cause nobody cares how I feel. But Saints Row, Saints Row, Saints Row, Saints Row, Saints Row.
So I'm sitting here playing some of the rebooted Saints Row that came out in 2022. I had just finished the main storyline yesterday, and I love the story to this game. And once again, here we have a great example of the contradictions in our society. You have a storyline that should have been very well liked by a certain crowd. So that crowd that screams for diversity, that screams for positive representations, and all of that stuff, which is necessary. I'm not saying it's not good to have, but what I find more interesting is the people who really want that stuff don't tend to appreciate the products that have it, you know, as a major part of their brand. You know, to some extent, rebranding the Saints Row series with I mean, it always had family at its core, don't get me wrong. It was always about the family of the Saints, the gang family. But the previous games, Saints Row 1 and 2 in particular, have a flavor, a tone, a vibe, and an atmosphere that's very much of its time. You know, 2005 to 2006, I would really say that it began in like 2003. And then it kind of ran until like 2012-ish, and then it kind of went. And that's the pop culture, especially white boy, wigger style appeal of gangster life. And the first Saints Row is just, it's the wigger game. I can't think of a better term for it, because it is just this incredibly colorful cartoon glorification of the gangster lifestyle. And it has family at its core, and I really love that. I think that's one of the best things about the Saints Row games.
What's on the rules for breakfast today? What's on the words I'm forbidden to say? I need to let my hand out and warm like a... What's on the rules for breakfast today? Beat up my whole life. I've been shot down, kicked down twice. Ain't no stopping me tonight. I'ma get all the things I like. I've been beat up my whole life. Come get it from me.
But the family that's presented in the original Saints Row, especially Saints Row 1 and 2, I mean, 2 definitely has a slightly different flavor.
Just think of it as a trust fall, where the person falling has to trust gravity. Ah! That's good. Sometimes in life, people need a push in the right direction.
Saints 1, which as it's definitely the wigger game. It is that perfect time capsule of that experience, the hip-hop flavor, that just was seeping into suburbia at the time. And I love that about Saints Row. Like, that's what makes the first Saints Row so poppin'. And it looks and plays phenomenally to this day. Xbox backwards compatibility, yo.
Rated M for mature. I started out with nothing. Just a kid from the streets with nothing to lose. Then I met Julius, and everything changed.
Welcome to the 3rd Street Saints.
Once I joined the 3rd Street Saints, everything started going my way. I'd run some jobs, get paid, and Lady Luck was on my side. Now, I have the women, the clothes, the rides, but it's not enough. I want more. I want it all.
Come on.
That's the great thing about this city. It's there for the taking, if you got what it takes. Saints Row, coming soon.
Just totally freaking awesome. Saints Row 2, it has the gangster lifestyle. I'm trying to like think of exactly the atmospheric tone because it's really, really unique.
As many of you know, the restoration of Saints Row is a tremendous success. That was just the beginning of what Old Tor has in mind for Stillwater. Picture this: glass towers, clean streets, and no one below the poverty line trying to wash your car. So how do we do that? The gangs cripple each other. We direct funds to the Stillwater Police Department, and pretty soon, all those nasty little gangbangers are gone.
What you do to piss these guys off?
Don't worry about it, Pierce. We'll take care of it.
The fuck you mean, don't worry about it? These guys are packing space age shit.
So what's the plan?
We get our crew together. Once we got that, we can work on how we taking back our city.
Finish off the Saints, or being fired is the least of your worries.
If you're gonna build an ivory tower, you're gonna have to kill a few elephants.
I would almost say that Saints Row 2 is the epitome of maybe a video game parody. I think Saints Row and the Postal series have a lot in common in that regard, in that they feel very meta when it comes to being games that yet are very much aware that they're self-aware video games, I guess is the best way to put it. So yeah, Saints Row 2, it has just the most unique vibe, atmosphere, and tone of the entire series. When it comes to the third Saints Row, that one's really underrated, really great, really awesome. I would say its tone is one of literally, like, it's probably the most self-aware video game ever created, next to 4 Gat Out of Hell. And the self-awareness was kind of toned back in the reboot. But the third definitely just it feels like the best way to describe that one is the characters from Saints Row 2 created video games about their story. Like, there's a lot of discrepancy between 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I think the best way to look at it in a really imaginative way is to kind of look at the third Saints Row, the fourth, and Get Out of Hell as, and also Agents of Mayhem for those who actually appreciated and enjoyed that wonderful game, which I felt was very much kind of their own parody of Crackdown. It felt like 4 was a parody of the superhero games like Infamous and such that it came out during the PS3, 360 era, came out. But, yeah, so 3 definitely just totally self-fucking-aware. And, what was I, yeah. So I believe the best way to look at them is that Saints Row 3 and 4 are video games made within the Saints Row 1 and 2 universe. Alright. The characters from Saints Row 2 made video games about their stories. So that I think is a great way to look at those games and possibly look at Agents of Mayhem like they made their own Saturday morning cartoon. And then you could, again, I think, even look at the reboot as if maybe the Saints of 1 and 2 have again gone, well, we need to reboot the franchise and the brand, and so they've come up with this narrative and this story. So it's just an interesting, like, there's a lot of people who look at different shows and series and they come up with these theories, and a lot of them tend to be really dark and depressing, and it actually, you know, makes watching those things kind of dreadful in a way. Like, instead of it being a cheerful theory, it's like, oh, the character's actually dead. Like, what the fuck? Why do you gotta be so dark? Like, why are you all like the dark emo kids in the corner? I don't get this shit. I think it's much more interesting to look at it from a positive, like, oh, this is a cool imaginative way to look at it. Instead of like, oh, the characters died and this is fucking why the things are happening. It's like, oh. Why do people think that death is like the ultimate act of maturity? I think that that's like the end of creativity. It's like, oh, that's all you can come up with? Like, let's come up with something more creative and imaginative and enjoyable than that. So, getting back all the way to the beginning of what we were talking about. Whenever you find video games or movies or stories like the rebooted Saints Row that have such positive portrayals of family, because like I said, when you look at the earlier Saints Row games, they have this kind of, you know, teenager in the mid-2000s who thinks he's hardcore, who plays a lot of violent video games, listens to a lot of hard-edged music, and has a really dark, twisted sense of humor. Like, that's the vibe that you get from the family in the original Saints Row series. And even 3 and 4 kind of still carry that vibe. They're a little more colorful, a little more cartoonish. I would say it goes kind of a tone that's in between South Park and Family Guy, somewhere in there. But what you have with the new Saints Row is a really, like, just loving portrayal of blended chosen family. And I think that's a really cool representation to see in a game. I really enjoyed it. I thought that it was a great place to come and vibe at the end of the day. You know, it was a really cool, chill, interesting atmosphere that I haven't seen in very many games. I would actually say that you really don't see this kind of positive family vibes that's portrayed in Saints Row outside of those wholesome 80s sitcoms. I mean, this is just a family that comes together to support each other, that loves each other, that can make jokes about one another, but really just the amount of love shown in this game. Like, these are the kind of friends you want. That's the kind of family you want. And I cannot see any reason why this game would be hated unless we were living in this strange, paranormal, supernatural environment where you have a video game that when you sit down, it kind of makes you think, oh wait, hang on, these aren't what my friends are like, this isn't what my family's like, and yet this is what those things should be like. And anytime we have these kind of portrayals that can remind us that there's something strange going on in the world around us, like, those things are so just dogpiled upon. There is no reason for the amount of just unjust hate directed towards this game, or really any video game or piece of entertainment. But again, you have to kind of look closer and you go, alright, so this game is talking about family. It's also very much trying to build up the player's confidence, because that's the journey that the main character goes on in the reboot. It is one of, learning to stand up for yourself, learning to take control of your life, learning to build something in your life, learning to work with others. It has a lot of great, like I said, themes that are very positive and beneficial for the people who are playing it. Like, when you're playing these experiences, you can get it while you're watching movies, listening to music, or even reading stories, that you can feel totally immersed into the narrative, where you feel that you're more there than here. But video games really put you through that experience in a more immersive, in-depth way that really, unlike any other experience out there, helps you to absorb and feel that you lived that experience. So when you're able to go in this game and take on obstacles and also just learn patience and perseverance, because it takes a lot of patience and perseverance to finish a 20-something hour game. I mean, you can probably clear the main storyline in less time than that, but if you actually get into the game and you just start doing the activities because they're fun to do, and again, we have to look at just how video games can kind of give us a red flag that, hey, something's wrong in the world, because you should be able to sit down and just be like, I just want to go and do some fun activities. You shouldn't be sitting there grating your teeth or being impatient during cutscenes and be like, I just want to get to this part, or I just want to get through this part. Like, we're supposed to be vibing, we're supposed to be relaxing. That's not relaxing. Trying to achieve the most and succeed at the most, that's also, again, not relaxing. Just sitting there and experiencing something is a far more relaxing experience. I'm not trying to tell you that pushing yourself is wrong, because pushing yourself is a good thing. But I find that if we're always constantly actually pushing ourselves anyway, I mean, really think about it. To get out of bed, even to just read books, watch TV, or entertain yourself, as we found during the pandemic, that takes willpower and energy. If you don't get the day moving, it doesn't get moving. So since we're already putting in that effort just by existing, just by choosing to experience things and not just, sleep there, to not be a zombie, then I don't think you have to push yourself as hard in other places. Push yourself to take better care of yourself. Don't think that you can't enjoy the foods that you want, just enjoy less of it perhaps. Find a balanced way of eating. It doesn't have to be fasting or intermittent fasting. It could just be eating a slightly smaller version of that meal and eating it slower and truly savoring it, and then spacing out the next meal more than you usually would. If you normally wait 3 or 4 hours between meals, maybe wait 6 or 7 hours between meals. Maybe cut down from 3 to 2. Have one around morning time-ish, waking up, whenever the morning is for you. It could be midnight for you, who knows? The morning is just, I think of the morning not necessarily as a time of day, but as a state of mind, like the mornings when you're waking up and getting ready to go. And I think that's kind of also the whole point about life in general, is just that it's all really a state of mind. it's not about thinking that life is really about everything we're doing physically. Like, I've found that things truly are very supernatural, and that's a wonderful thing because it means that imagination and manifestation are actually important parts of our life. So the more that you imagine things, and the more that you imagine good things, more good things happen for you. When people do bad things to you, think of them as lessons to be learned. It's not beneficial to seek revenge. Seeking justice is one thing. Seeking to end the oppression that we're all facing in this world where we're being bought and sold with lies, because the universe doesn't work the way that we're taught that it does. It's far more stranger, it's far more wonderful than that. But still, the only reason that we would be being taught these lies is that those in power are actively oppressing us. And the more that you battle fear, the more you really begin to just go, oh, holy shit, like, this isn't just in my head, but the things that happen in my head actually have, and the things that I imagine actually have far more significance than I ever imagined. If you're sitting there thinking that you're battling fear, well, the truth is that you are. If you're sitting there imagining that you're succeeding in life, well, then you are. Because the things that we imagine come to life when we feel that they're real. It's the same thing as being immersed into a narrative. Whether that's a game, a film, or a book, when it feels like it's happening to you, when it feels like that narrative is real, when that narrative can positively impact your life, can teach you things, can open your eyes to different concepts, we have to begin to understand. People are going like, hey, all that stuff is in your head. It's like, yeah, and if we don't do with what's in our head, then what comes out in life doesn't happen. The people who imagine the iPhone and all the technology that we utilize, they had to go and take the stuff in their head and bring it into the real world. Like, they had to manifest it. That's how everything around us was built and created. That's how life, as we know it, has been sustained for so long. These are where you begin to see the cracks and the contradictions and the things that make you go, all the noise, all the chatter around us doesn't seem to do us any good, and as a matter of fact, it seems to be pointless distractions meant to emotionally cripple us by bringing us down, by draining our energy, by just simply keeping us from truly seizing the day. Sometimes that's by gathering your thoughts and sitting there mindfully being able to express what you're experiencing, what you've experienced, what you're feeling, and what it means to you. We are perfectly allowed to believe whatever we want. That's kind of the whole point of the freedom of religion if you're like me living in the United States. I mean, if you actually take those things seriously, freedom of religion, pursuit of happiness, it's like, alright, well, there are so many cracks in the screen. Like, I went to the hospital so many times with extremely high blood sugars, and I kept trying to explain to them that my sugar was rubber banding and that I was also very panicked by it. And at no point did they want to work with me on what I was experiencing and what was actually hurting my blood sugar. I got contradictory treatments based on coming in as a lower status person to a certain hospital versus coming in via ambulance. I noticed that was quite strange. I noticed that they acted like in both circumstances that the treatment was the treatment that you needed. So in the lower income, lower status position, I was simply given a shot of insulin for extreme high blood sugar. which was like approaching ketoacidosis stage and just all these different supposedly really horrible things if you believe in complete medical science. So again, just given a shot of insulin when you're a lower status person coming into a certain hospital, going into the same hospital family as a higher status person via ambulance. Put on a drip of insulin for the entire evening, where they also were giving you sugar through the drip at the same time, which I thought was quite strange. None of their approaches in all of these circumstances made very much sense. Because they tried to explain in each one how this was the treatment, but each time it was a different treatment. Also, the nature of, well, the person's sugar is already super high. It's like in some instances giving a shot of insulin kind of makes more sense than putting them on a constant insulin drip that you have to supplement with sugar. It's like the fact that there are two treatments for two different statused persons is a problem, more so than anything else. But it's also more problematic that I can also remember being a different status person as a youth in Florida, and and my experiences here are in California. When I was diagnosed with diabetes, I was in Florida. And so, when that happened, went in with the same kind of high blood sugar, and they really took bringing it down very seriously. They were doing different injections and monitoring at different times, and then more injections, and they were tapering it down. I felt that treatment was very effective, and then afterwards they kept me in the hospital to regulate the blood sugar for a while and to teach me how to do it. And it's like, also in the instance of the hospital experience in California, every time the doctor basically was trying to look at me like, oh, this is my fault. When I'm sitting there explaining that I'm having experience with my blood sugar that I've never had before, where it's rubber banding, where no matter, like, one day I can eat the same meal, the next day I can eat the same meal, I can take the same injections, I can do the same things, because I've tried to approach life very scientifically to understand what's going on myself. This is something that doctors also don't like, and that doesn't make sense unless you're learning things that you're not supposed to learn. And this is again what I found through most of my experiences in life, which does sound very conspiratorial, but when there are enough facts out there proving, hey, you can't trust the people in power, hey, there are strange otherworldly shit going on that we need to pay attention to, that's when you can sit down and go, alright, my experiences are valid, they matter. It doesn't matter if other people think you're crazy. You have to sit there and go, do I have enough evidence to sit here and believe what I'm choosing to believe because it feels right and it makes sense to me? If you have enough evidence, if you've done enough research to go, yeah, I cannot say that I'm wrong. I might not be able to say I'm right, but I cannot say that I'm wrong. Then you can go with that on faith and go, well, if I can't say I'm wrong, these are how discoveries are made. You're the experiment. You're the research project, you know. If you found a new way of looking at life, if you're doing something new, if you're seeing something new, if you're experiencing new things, then you have to go with it because you're the first. That's what it's like to be a psychonaut, to be someone who's actually exploring the mind. I mean, it's really interesting to go out and explore the world, and in some ways it's a lot easier because exploring the mind can be very frightening. Because eventually you're going to come face to face with fear, and you're going to start asking yourself, is it really an anxiety attack or is it a fear attack? And why does it seem that this so-called anxiety can chase me down like Michael Myers or some kind of serial killer in a movie? It's so fucking bizarre that your anxiety can be an organic living force that knows when to fuck with you the most. It's not like it chooses to pick on you when you're doing the best, it's like when you're doing the weakest. That's odd. When you realize that you can actually fight that thing off as if you're Harry Potter going expecto patronum, when you can use the force of will and courage, and you can actually battle it, and you go, holy shit, I didn't need to do any of the other rituals. I was able to hold my ground and mentally, imaginatively, spiritually, however you want to look at it, fight this thing off. And now I feel better, naturally. Something happened, all right? You were experiencing something. And if there are people out there in the world who are normalizing that that's not possible, and that some people just can't do it, like, no, everyone can do it, but it takes work and effort and a lot of will. And some people just don't want to do it. And that's your choice. It's an ideal world that's not ruled over by oppressive forces that perhaps are best described as some kind of supernatural evil. Well then, you shouldn't have to ever really will yourself to do anything. You should just be able to be without there being any struggle or effort required. But if there is an evil, supernatural, oppressive force controlling everything and trying to ensure that the one ant can never stand up to Hopper, and that's referencing A Bug's Life that has this idea presented in this Pixar cartoon released by Disney in the 90s, that one ant standing up to these oppressive bad bugs that are, terrorizing these innocent ants. That's part of the story anyway. If one ant stands up to them, then they all learn that they can stand up to them. And there are more ants than these oppressive bad bugs. So all the ants need is just the courage and the will to stand up for themselves. And then there isn't even really a fight because they just freaking outnumber the bad bugs. And as long as one ant realizes that and stands up for himself, then they all see that. And so that's along the ideas of standing up to this force every day. If you're not enjoying your life, if life feels like a miserable slog, well, number one, we have to recognize that it seems very much that from the beginning of time, everything has always been made so that life is never stable. So that everyone who's making the world go, who are the cogs in the machine, who, they operate the power stations, they're the ambulance people, they're the doctors, they're the food preparers, they run the grocery stores. You get what I'm saying here. All the little people who make life possible for everyone, including the top of the top to the lowest of the low, are never given their due. They are always beatered, battered, and bruised, no matter if it's emotionally, physically, mentally, whatever. That's odd. Because anyone who's done any kind of research realizes that that's not how you create a productive, prosperous society. And if we are electing people to shepherd our society, then they damn sure well better do a good job of it. And it shouldn't just be by looking at groups and going, oh, well, you have an opinion on this and you have an opinion on this. They should be acting like the parents that they're supposed to be, because why else would we need these people? They're supposed to be smarter and better than us, otherwise we wouldn't need leaders, right? Kind of makes sense. So they shouldn't be creating a negative, shitty version of life. But they are. So number one, why do we need them? But number two, why would they be doing so unless they're getting off on it? It makes no sense. If you're running a country like the United States, you would want it to be the shining beacon, because what other else is there to aspire to be? If you believe that you're right and that all your ideas are correct and that you have the best shit, then you better make it so. You can't just destroy your society from within and act like you're still number one on the block. That's strange. But it's the same no matter what country you're in. It's just oppression to those who are simply doing their best and who really don't question things and who trust those who are leading them. They're trusting within the system, they're doing their best, and they're still getting kicked while they're down. That's some bullshit. No matter where you are, that's basically what life is. That's some bullshit. That's some bullshit that's what life has been throughout most of recorded history. Why are we putting up with such shit? That's then when you begin to look at the fear attacks and everything else, like, all right, there seems to be these weird waves of energy and of forces that are trying to prevent me from learning some shit, from looking at the world. And yeah, again, maybe it made sense before the digital age that these things could happen and that history could repeat itself, because we just didn't have a way to keep everyone aware with what's happened, with what's gone on, with the proper choices, with the incorrect choices, and not because, you know, one's saying that you're right or you're wrong, but it's just going, hey, these choices have been made before. We've seen that this choice has a positive result. Doing this one doesn't just, you know, hurt somebody else, it hurts yourself. So this is the one to make, and we're not forcing you to do it. We're saying, please do this one just because it's the right choice to make. Yeah. And those choices can't be in something that's personality, character, or, you know, the unique you-ness. You know, how you dress, how you act, how you behave. I mean, unless you're being an absolute oppressive dick. But none of us really want to be that. Some of us become that after we've been oppressed for so long, and we become so afraid that we become that thing that was controlling us, because we try to control everything because we felt so out of control. But that's why you have to take control of your feelings first and foremost. Like, we all put that off. We all try to do everything else first. We try to find any way we can to circumnavigate having to actually address being in charge of our feelings. Going, hey, I know I like this. I know there's no reason for me to be a bitchy little complainer right now, because it's not allowing me to enjoy myself to my fullest extent. So why am I taking this out on myself? And then why did I then go out and spread that stuff parasitically out into the universe? It's not helping you. It's not helping anyone else. You're only doing it because something is compelling you to. And it's compelling you to so that you're not stronger than it. It's always trying to just make you bow down and make the wrong choice. And it's a strange fight. And this is what addicts go through. This is what alcoholics go through. It's like, hey, all of this is a battle of will. It's not a chemical imbalance. It's not any of that weird shit. It's a battle of will with an actual enemy. And that's when you also realize, isn't it strange that when bad shit happens, when children die, oh, it's in God's plan. Hang on, time out. Why are we telling people this? Why are we not saying this was evil? And only through the force of love can we combat this evil so that this doesn't happen again. We don't need to fear anything. We just need to be aware. There's no need to be afraid of a stove that has the potential to burn you, because being afraid of it and every time going like this, that could get you burned anyway, because you're out of control of yourself. If you're aware that the stove is hot and that there are things you should and shouldn't do and things that are safe and unsafe, then there's no reason to be afraid, because you understand what to do. That would be a very good reason to go to school, to learn the things that we should do that allow us to be the best versions of ourselves. You know, the way that Starfleet Academy works in Star Trek, regardless if you like the series, regardless if you think it's a socialist whatever thing. When you see a society represented, it's like, oh, okay, drop all the stuff from Star Trek. Just riddle me this, Captain. Why can't we have the diplomacy represented in Star Trek? Why are we literally making choices that are insane because we know they have no positive result? We've done them over and over again and it just doesn't work. And that's the definition of insanity. Repeating the same action, expecting a different result. It's like, yeah, if you want to maybe investigate that insanity, repeat it and just see what's happening. Take yourself out of the equation and learn from those experiences. But don't sit there actually thinking that you can change the outcome. Sit there trying to understand what's going on maybe, but anything else is a little crazy. So, other videos, sometimes we sit, we chill, we vibe, we play different things, we experience what my life is like doing those things, and maybe the rest of the video will be that, or maybe this will be the end of this current video. But this felt important for me, and those are the things that we should do. Those are the passions, that's the art, that's what we should chase about life, is something that feels good to you. It feels important to you, it feels like it's something that's necessary for you to do. And not necessary in the way like you're being whipped, and if you do this, you might have a chance at happiness. But no, doing it brings you happiness. The entire experience. It centers and grounds you. It relaxes you. It puts you in a positive place. And it doesn't matter if that looks like progression to other people. It doesn't matter if that looks like success to other people. What truly matters is feeling good. Because if we don't feel good, then we are truly incapable of making good choices for ourselves, and then we're incapable of doing good for others. So if those things matter to you, then you gotta slow down and figure out what you can do to feel good. And do those things that make you feel good, and then don't believe that it's like all ritualistic. It's contextual. You know, today this is what's helping me, this is what's necessary, this is what feels good. But in a few moments something else can feel necessary, and that's what I need to do. And in a just world, you would be free to pursue those things, because a true, wonderful, leading, creative, captain-esque figure, the Walt Disney, you know, if we think of Walt Disney in the most positive terms, let's try to drop all the negative baggage associated. Let's just look at the fact that he provided creative artists a place to truly express themselves. Let's look at it that way. So there's somebody who's created that. They should be ensuring that you're able to be free, because that's ultimately how that person in charge benefits the most. Like if I was wanting to be an emperor, I would want everybody to be free to pursue their happiness, to be the happiest they could be. Because I would understand then they would be in their most creative place, and then I would get the most out of the universe, which is what I like, which is entertainment and art. And those two things are the same thing to me, obviously. But yeah, so if I wanted what I wanted out of the universe, clearly to get that, everybody would need to be happy and well taken care of, and they would all need the tools at their disposal to create the best things. Because I don't just want the art that I imagine created. I truly appreciate other people's art, almost more than my own, but I still enjoy doing my own thing as well. And I think that's the wonderful thing that makes the world go round. Like, we do things for ourselves, we do things to help others, and this all is the true circle of life. Because it really just, it returns to you, you give it to somebody else, we return, you know. Maybe somebody else is inspired by what I'm doing, and maybe they want to help me doing what I'm doing, so they do that, and then maybe they have this idea, and then I'm able to help them do it. That's how it should work, and any just leader should understand that. But we don't have that. We've always had oppressive dictators, and clearly, it's not just that we're stupid, it's not that we're weak, it's not that we're bad, it's not that we're the problem. It's that something is literally pulling our strings, oppressing us, controlling us, brainwashing us. It's all of those things in a bag of chips and more. It's everything you've ever sat there and then went, nah. But that's just what I found. So, thanks for listening thus far, fam. I really appreciate it. And if this has helped you, then I actually appreciate that even more, because I want all I want from anybody who's watched my stuff is just please share it, because nothing wants this stuff to be seen, especially if I'm any kind of right. I don't have to be 100% right. I don't care about that. I would love to work with other people and to see the actual forest. I know I'm seeing what I'm seeing and what I'm experiencing. I want to know more. I want to work with people who might know and understand more. And if I was truly the most advanced in the field, then the way that I can be more advanced is to learn things from other people. There's always more to learn. You can always improve yourself and better yourself. So, that's what we're here to do. If I've helped you, if you feel like you want to give back to me, all I ask is just share this stuff out there. Because if this stuff goes viral, I want to take you all on the journey with me so that we can see behind the curtain. We can, I want to go down the Yellow Brick Road and I want to see who's behind that curtain and why they're doing what they're doing. Because it's obviously not working. It's not creating a better society. And I've been on every single end of every single kind of experience that there is, basically. I've may not have the years, but I definitely got the mileage, honey. So, I'm here to not just help you, I'm here to help me. And I want that to help all of us. I don't understand any other way to be. You know, if somebody was hurting somebody, I would stop that oppressive force. I would feel that's necessary. I feel it's necessary to stop the evil oppressive force right now, but the best way that I see to do that is to expose its lies, its injustices, and its contradictions. I don't think that we have to use violence at all, but if somebody in front of me was about to be killed and the only way to stop that was through violence, I do approve of that contextual situation. Don't go looking for trouble, but if trouble finds you, don't start the fight, end the fight. This is a great place to end either the video or this portion of the video. Thank you so much. I have a little publication, megamediaoverload.com, where I've cataloged everything I've done, and I've also had some written works on there as well. But you can find the majority of my works here, and then there's also some other content available on Odyssey.com. So, if you're interested in anything I've done, just Google Mega Media Overload, and you should be able to find most of the things that I've done, because it is a really interesting journey that I've gone on, and I've tried to document it. And now that's like my true main focus, is documenting my experience, more so than trying to, I'm obviously theorizing about it because that's naturally sharing part of the experience, but I want this to be more about the journey than sitting here trying to definitively say what is, because that's never really what I was trying to do, but it was always this strange, it's like, how do I reach these kids in the way of Eric Cartman? It's like, I know there's so much important that I've learned and that I can share, and I want to work with so many other people, like, how do I get to this point? And so that's what I've been doing here. Like, I know that what I've gone through is important, because I could have been called crazy at so many points, but the thing is, embracing the true crazy ideas and concepts is what saved me from actually being crazy and miserable. So there is so much to unpack and to discover here, and that's the journey we're on right now. So thank you for coming along with me on this journey. So I figured after unloading all of that onto those watching, if you were still watching at that point, you might want to continue to just vibe and chill, so let's just do that. I'm going to play some more Saints Row. I'm going to adjust the volume a little bit so we don't blast the shit out of you with it too badly, but still want you to be able to hear kind of some of it. So, let's just see what happens instead of trying to force anything, because that's when the best shit happens, You can wake up wanting to do something very specific, but there can be this little Navi voice going, hey, listen! And most of the time when you listen to that voice, especially when it's telling you something that you know will do you no harm and no one else harm, it's just going, hey, let's do this activity instead of the one that you think you should do. Like, you might really want to do this one, but if you do this activity instead of that activity, I promise you, you're going to have a better time. It's like, hey, if you pizza when you should have French fried, you're going to have a bad time. That kind of vibe. That's a South Park reference. It's about, if you've not seen the episode, if you don't get the reference. It's when the ski instructor's teaching the kids to ski, and they're like saying, okay, so be like a French fry, two skis side by side like that, and you're going to go fast. If you want to slow down, be a V, like a pizza shape, by putting them together like that, and that'll slow you down. But if you don't do it at the right time, if you pizza when you should have French fried, you're going to have a bad time. That's, And that's basically what life is. Sometimes also life isn't about turning lemons into lemonade. Sometimes it's about going, hey, fuck these lemons and bail. Sometimes it's also about applying that other lesson, if you understand where that came from Forgetting Sarah Marshall, that there's this scene where a surfing instructor is teaching the main character, hey, you're doing too much now. Now you're not doing enough. It's like you got to do that in between where you're just doing. You're not trying. You're not forcing, and you're not doing nothing. You're just doing. Fuck that little bar we drove right through. By the way, only 1% of people on Xbox have played the expansion missions in the new rebooted Saints Row. The very first mission I got, the rare diamond achievement showing that only 1.88% of people have played that. And it's free with the expansion pass. And you have to imagine that at least, I don't know, at the very, very least, 10% of people who've played this, 10 to 25% I would say on the least, and I would actually say it's probably more like 40 to 50% maybe of people who've bought Saints Row on the Xbox have also bought the expansion pass. But just 1% out of everyone who's ever played Saints Row. I mean, you can really notice some strange shit when you look at the percentages on Xbox, because you're like, so wait, there are so many of these games where the achievement is only maybe playing the game for like 30 minutes, let's say. It's progressing into the game, and all that takes is 30 minutes. There's a lot of games where those achievements are in the low teens, and at the best, the mid-20 percentile range, like 25% of players. There are a lot of games like that. That's so fucking strange to me that there are games that people have bought and not played. Because it's, for those to register, it's not counting people who just bought the game. Like, they have to have actively played the game to be counted in those percentages. So they've had to boot up the game, but then not actually play even 30 minutes of the game. Out of the hundreds of people who have booted up a game and registered as playing it, only 25% have actually experienced even 30 minutes of, let's say, a 4, 6 hour, 10, 20 hour campaign or game. That's interesting.
So, what's your plan to get back at the Chill Queen?
Simple. We join forces, LARP killer.
What? That's a goal.
And also, a lot of people really liked the LARP missions.
We don't know where she is.
They were very well received.
Know what she fucking wants.
And the story
But the lore
of Saints Row, so having this as a part of the expansion pass, I would have expected it to have been played more than the Heist and the Hazardous, which is also a very short 3-mission, this is a 6-mission expansion. The other was a 3-mission expansion, and basically less than 10% of people who played Saints Row have played it. Those numbers are really fascinating.
Souvenirs! Lovely trinkets for to remember this Mother's Day.
And I think maybe a quarter of the people who started Saints Row finished it, something like that. I saw those numbers yesterday.
Hey, Lore Master. You know everything we need to know about the Chill Queen, right?
The lore master did know, but the lore master's dead, so.
Right. But you can tell us.
Wrong. My character is dead, and all of his knowledge went with him. If I tell you what he knew, I'd be breaking the rules.
What kind of fucked up bullshit is this?
Just
That's kind of like how the world seems to work, that nobody wants to break the rules and tell the truth, and I'm just the one who's sitting here that's like, hey,
How?
I'm confirming what you've all thought and believed, but you look out in the universe and you can't find somebody who's talking about it or have had those experiences. Like, I'm not sitting here trying to tell you, do what I do. I'm sitting here going, hey, look at what I've experienced. Is this kind of what you've experienced? Cool, then we should work together. We should be family. We should be Avengers and Justice League together. Like, that's what I'm pointing out. Like, this is like the movie Accepted. We are shitheads here. This is South Harmon Institute of Technology. If you weren't accepted anywhere else, I accept you. And we are going to go far with this program. It's already been approved. We're on a trial basis, but it's been approved by the
Is anyone
universe.
kind enough to aid a poor trader with a trifling problem?
That's what I've felt from the colors of the wind and from the vibes that I've felt.
My tale of woe.
And I feel dorky while I say that, but that just means it's real.
I plead with thee, help me in my quest. Fetcheth me 5 of their pelts, and I shall reward thee with tickets.
Great. A fetch quest. I shall completeth this quest for thee.
Okay, this is just fun, imaginative, and silly. I mean, It's kind of sucky that it's the last expansion pass and the Coalition went under. Like, again, crappy things happening. But it's like,
There they are. Get your
this
fuzzy
game
asses
has so
back
much
here.
passion
What's
and love put into it. Again, it's just one of those things where you look at everybody hating it, like you might go, hey, I don't think that's a game for me. But clearly, this is something that's very fun for a lot of people.
What fell down?
It's just proof that there is this oppressive force that's trying to make you think and see the world in one way. Like, again, how can all critics agree every single fucking time? Like, oh, this is a good game, this is a bad movie. What? If this was a normal, chaotic, real world, they would all be having different opinions and they'd be at each other's throats thinking they all have the right opinion. But instead, they're all like, oh, yes, we agree all the time, basically. Like, we're all in agreement, this game sucks and it's bad and no one should play it and it's not enjoyable. Like, what the fuck? Really?
One on one time.
And somebody might go, oh, but that doesn't look like that's like, there doesn't have to be much to this. It's just fun. I'm relaxed. I'm enjoying myself while I'm doing this. I mean, what else is there to life? What else is there to what I should be doing today? It's kind of like when Cleveland Jr. in the Cleveland show is counting to 1,000,000 and Cleveland's like, why are you doing that? And he's like, why does anybody do anything?
How?
Come back here, you Sly Cooper wannabe. I could have easily taken him out with a takedown, but for my fun, I wanted to shoot him. And not to prove anything to myself, but just because I have more fun shooting him when I go. I was also about to say at this point, I'm also curious if shooting him works. And it does. It totally does. So we're just sitting, chilling in the car, listening to the radio, vibing out in the desert. Beautiful day. Loving the vibe. But we could use a little medicinal help, so we got some green herb here, and you know that green herb is all about healing. Mind, body, spirit, and soul. Cheers. Oh, I believe in fairies. I do. I do. I do. So, if you're out there and you want to be a lost boy instead of a pirate, if you've become a Squidward and you want to be a SpongeBob, this is the place to be. And realize, I'm not hating on Squidward. I want to help Squidward out because it sucks that he can never appreciate or enjoy anything and he's always frustrated and been out of shape. It's just not a good way to go through life, you know?
It's a good question, thank you. My name is Bartleby.
Hello.
Gaines, for what it's worth. And do you know on the website how it said acceptance is just one click away? Do you remember that? We had intended, hold on, we added that because we were, oh, shit. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, what do you want?
When I got accepted here, it was the first time my parents ever said they were proud of me.
That's cool. That's cool, man. Hey, just show of hands, how many people applied to other colleges? Everybody. Okay. And how many of you got in to the other places you applied to? Nobody. Nobody got in anywhere else. Hey, you know what? I didn't either. I didn't get into a real college, really good college. I know what it's like to be rejected. It sucks. Rejection blows being said no to. You know what? I'm sorry, you're just not quite good enough. You didn't have extracurriculars, you didn't play enough tennis, you didn't study hard enough for your scores, so you're not gonna make it. You know what? Screw that.
What is he doing?
I
think he's winging it.
Shouldn't we all have the chance to be said yes to? At South Harmon, we say yes to you. We say yes to your hopes. We say yes to your dreams. We say yes to your flaws. So welcome. Grab a room, grab a friend, grab yourself. We don't give a shit. Welcome to South Harmon Institute of Technology.